Welcome to October Scaries. For the month of October, I will be watching and reviewing 7 horror movies that I've never seen before, and we are going to get started with The Brood. The Brood is a Canadian horror, like body horror, psychological horror, sci-fi movie that premiered in 1979. It is about a man named Frank who is in the middle of a divorce, getting divorced, or is already divorced. Definitely there's a custody situation that arises. His wife or ex-wife, Nola, is in a mental institution being treated by a psychotherapist. Their custody arrangement has Frank bringing their daughter Candace over to see Nola, to visit her. And one day he picks up Candace and notices that there are bruises on her body. And so Frank is like, absolutely not. Like this is supposed to be like a secure, like a doctor's office, like a professional place. Why does my daughter have bruises? And so he starts rethinking, because he thinks the wife did it, starts rethinking the custody arrangement. People start dropping dead. And so Frank is on the case, and has to figure out what is going on. Overall, The Brood is underwhelming. It's one of those movies that feels like it did something, and then once it's over and you think about it, you don't think hard. You just think for a little bit and you're like, it falls apart. The positives, while watching the movie, I enjoyed the pacing. I enjoyed the tension. I enjoyed the big reveal. I did enjoy that moment. It was horrifying. It was nasty. Once it was over, I literally the next day I was like, but wait a minute. So let's talk about it. It came out in 1979, but I am someone who never wants to be spoiled. So spoiler alert for if you've never seen this movie but want to. The first person who bites it is Nola's mother. Gets killed by this leprechaun height looking, childish looking thing. We don't really see the face. We just see that it's very, very violent, and it takes out Nola's mom. And then Nola's dad bites it, and then Candace's teacher bites it, and it's all good, right? It's all good. Frank is trying to figure it out. He's trying to figure out what the therapist is up to, what the place is really about. So the therapist has like some unconventional methods. The movie has a lot of holes and a lot of unanswered questions. My number one thing about it is like those little demons that Nola was producing during the big reveal, where she, shows her body, it's a baby that she like takes out of the sack. So if they're born as babies, how come all of them are the same age, I'm sure, as the daughter? When did she start creating these things, right? At one point her mom says that, she used to be like scratching herself or whatever. She had bruises all over her body, but then when she became a teenager, it stopped. Which is another point of like question mark for me, because it's like, was Nola abused or not? Like at first I was going along with it thinking like, oh, she was abused, but was the mother telling the truth? But Nola, it seems that like Nola was telling the truth. The mom was abusive and the father didn't do anything. Hi, Edit Alta here. So what I'm getting at here, because I'm thinking about it as I'm trying to articulate, what I'm getting at is the fact that like the movie portrayed Nola as irrational, right? Candace did one little thing and got on her nerves and she killed her. The teacher was, in the same house as her man, and she killed the teacher. And so it's like, did her mom abuse her? Or was her mom just a little stern with her and she just has anger issues and some kind of like psychosis, and she blew it way out of proportion? Because the mom did say like, oh, you do your best for your kid, and like they grow up and start saying these horrible things about you. And like when she said that, I thought like, oh, you sound like an abuser. But like Nola is a complete monster, seemingly. That's what I get from the movie. So again, just another question of like, what is her origin story? But let's continue. But in that case, like, why did the stuff on her body stop? Is that when she decide? Is that when she started producing those things? Where are the ones she produced when she was a teenager? Where are they now? Because as far as the movie is concerned, the only bodies that exist, the only murders that exist, are her mom, her dad, and the teacher. So what was that about? Like, what is the complete backstory for Nola? She doesn't quite have one. And as far as like the bruises on her body, like it's like the mom was abusing her, but maybe she wasn't leaving marks because perhaps the stuff on her body were the stuff that appeared on Candace's body. And so I do like the generational trauma of it all from Nola to Candace, because the movie ends with Candace having those little boils on her skin. I like the body keeps the score aspect. That's what came to mind when I saw those things on Candace's body, because Homegirl was taken through it. Trauma from seeing her grandma dead to those things taking her out of the classroom, so she knew what she may have even seen what happened to the teacher, to like the attempted murder on her life. Traumatized. She didn't see her grandfather get killed, but she knows he died. Nola effectively passed on trauma to her child. What was the therapist's interest in this? Because when Frank comes to confront him, he says, I didn't know it was this bad until like the teacher bit it. But it's like, but what was your angle? What were you doing? What is the point of the therapist's method? Because we met two people who were effectively traumatized from his method. So it's like, in his mind, what was putting them in conversation with the people who traumatized them supposed to do? What success story did he have to make him think this was the way? I know it may sound like I'm in the weeds about the therapist and his, but like I'm just asking for his motivation, because it was in his. He like made a nest for her so that she could produce. I know what triggers the murders is her anger, but what triggers the production? Is this something she can help, or is this something that's driven by her emotions? The movie is very holy. The movie is creepy because of another aspect that I'm not sure is on purpose. I think it may be a byproduct of 70s, like old timey Hollywood, even though this is Canada. Just like lack of boundaries and care for child actors. There are shots of the little girl, Candace, the little actress, of her like topless, and like she has nothing to show because she's a child, but this is like the movie making business. This actor who is not her father, is kissing her on the mouth. There is a scene where he is like, she's lying down for whatever reason, her arms are like this on the bed, and of course like she's one of those creepy children who like don't really say much, but her hands are like this on the bed, and the dad is like super. I'm just like, I know y'all are not related in real life. This makes me uncomfortable, but I just couldn't stop like worrying about this child actress and wondering and hoping like, you know, she had a good experience career wise at that age on that set. Anyway, so that's the movie. The movie is underwhelming in the aftermath. Now, I found out after watching it that the director and writer, David Cronenberg, wrote it after going through an acrimonious divorce with his wife in real life. And so it's pretty much a hit piece. Okay, so if I look at it through like the writer just wanted to like use the power of the pen to go in on his ex-wife, he depicted her as a monster, an irrational killer, someone who can't control her emotions, who is set off by any little thing, someone who doesn't care about her child. As a hit piece, once I know that afterwards, I'm like, oh, okay, effective. But as a standalone story where like this world is supposed to just exist and be justified just because that's what it is, it doesn't pass muster for me. I rate this movie 2 out of 5 stars. Let me know what you think if you've seen this movie. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.